Hello everyone and welcome back to the Doctor's Garage here on YouTube. Today I have a 2023 Harley Davidson Sport Glide and I'm going to be telling you what the big problem is with it. So I've had this Harley Davidson Sport Glide for the last 2 weeks, been riding it most days, and I've got to say it's really surprised me. I have a Harley Davidson Sportster, the bike with the Evo engine, so not the newer generation, and this is a whole different motorcycle. Take a look around the bike in general. I mean, it's a really interesting bike because at the front you have this very small fairing at the front, which I actually really like. I know a lot of people unclip this and take it off and think the bike looks better without it, but I think when you're buying a bike like this, I think having that little bit of fairing does give you a small amount of wind protection, and generally I think it really works with the aesthetic of the rest of the bike. So having the small fairing here works because at the back you've got the luggage compartments. They're all painted, they're all color-coded, and I think overall it just really works, particularly in this color, which is like a light misty grey. I think overall, for me, this is probably the colour I would choose if I was going to be buying one, because I think it works really well with the black accents and generally just looks the part really when you're looking at a bike like this. Looking at some more details on this bike in general, if we start with the front end and looking at the front wheels. So these are quite interesting wheels that Harley have chosen for this bike. I don't know how much of a fan I am on them, but obviously you can change many parts on a Harley generally. At the front here, you've also got the inverted forks at the front, and then like I mentioned, this small fairing with the new headlight unit from Harley Davidson. This massive 1700cc engine, the 107. This engine is really quite special when you're driving it because at lower speeds you don't necessarily know you've got such a big engine, but when you give it a little rev you really feel that torque, and how much power you've got from this is quite amazing to just get up to speed. Although it's a very heavy motorbike, about, I think it's over 350 kilograms, it actually moves quite nimbly on the road, and we'll go for a ride in a minute and I'll show you that when we're out on the road. But for a motorcycle that's this big, I find it actually handles quite well, which I didn't think I'd be saying about a bike that looks like this. Coming over the tank, you've got the tank graphic, which I really like. I think that works really well. Little flash of the orange there from Harley. And then moving over the top then, so you haven't got the same kind of instrument cluster that you have on the bigger touring bikes, but it's still pretty decent. You still have a small digital display there, and actually it works quite well. It's a massive tank. I'm not sure what the range is, but it's pretty decent in this, particularly compared to my Harley 48. The range on this, I haven't had to fill this up since owning it, and it goes forever. So that's been good. Obviously, if you're going on longer distances, that's something you'd definitely want. The riding position itself is really comfortable. So if I come around on this side, when you're riding it, you've got this tiny little lipped fairing here, and I don't know how much wind deflection that adds, but you definitely feel a bit more protected when you're riding it. It's quite an upright position. Seats very comfortable in this. You really can sit back in it, and I can imagine, although this bike it's sort of a tourer, it's sort of a sportsy sort of tourer, I guess is how you describe it. It's really comfortable. You can do a lot of distance on it. I think it actually fits that sort of semi-tourer, semi-sports sort of model that is kind of like an everyday bike. You could use this for some slightly longer distance riding, but also just as an everyday bike as well. Coming down this side on the engine as well, you've got passenger foot pegs. You've also got the adjustment here for the suspension, so you can adjust that very easily here depending on the weight you've got, if you're carrying stuff, people on the back, or you've got luggage. The luggage compartments are really neat, so they open very neatly, and I like some of the different details that Harley have done here. So firstly, it's super easy to remove. Literally unclick, luggage compartment comes off, and the bike looks quite different when that's removed. You might have seen some other videos here on YouTube where people have taken the rear luggage off and the front fairing too, and it really does look more of a stripped back bike when you do that. But it's just little details here. You've got the little gas struts here as well, which just make it so much smoother and so much nicer to open. And it doesn't just fly open and everything falls out. You've also got here a little netting as well to keep things in case, and actually a pretty decent size overall. They just shut like that and then lock down, which I learned the hard way because these did open once when I was driving along with them. And then this side as well, slightly bigger on this side, and again really a decent luggage load really. I mean, you could definitely do, like, you know, a long weekend trip on this with your luggage. It's quite a decent sort of hold you can get in there. Turn this bike on. So from the back as well, quite cool and quite a modern touch actually to a bike that looks quite classical, are the rear lights. So you've got these kind of ring LEDs here, which actually I really like on the back. Exhaust as well, this is a stock exhaust. Not bad sound from the stock exhaust, to be honest, but obviously, as you know, with Harleys, you can kind of change these up to whatever you want, really, to give different kind of sounds and whatever you might want. Performance upgrades as well you can do with Harley as well, do a stage 1 or a stage 2 or whatever. But generally, I think from the back, it's quite a nice look with those kind of luggage racks. I think that works. I know people do take them off, as I mentioned, but I think for me, they actually look quite good on. Rear lights look cool, and then also, from the indicator perspective, with the indicators on, they flash through the centre there. So really nice little light cluster at the back, which I quite like. And this is a dash that I was talking about that you can see here. So you've got your fuel gauge here, which is great because at the end of the day, bikes like the bike I've got, you don't know how much fuel you've got until that light comes on. And I think that's enough walking around this bike. Let's go for a ride. Let's see what it's like on the road, and I'll take you with me on my helmet cam. So out on the open road with the Sport Glide, and you can see it really does move. It is not a slow bike at all. You can really feel that 1700cc engine. Got a lot of low end torque, so it picks up quick from the lower end. And I started this video by saying, what is the problem? What's the problem with the Sport Glide? Why do I think it's a problem? Well, I think the main thing is, I don't think it knows what it is. I think it's kind of a tourer, kind of a cruiser, but it's also kind of a sport bike. As you can see here, when I'm riding, it really moves, it's rapid. And so, sometimes I'm confused as to what exactly this bike is trying to be. And then I wonder, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And you actually look at it and you think, well, it's a bike that kind of does everything. It's such a good all-rounder. It can be a bike you can use to go to work on, you can go to the shops on it, but you can also use it for a bit of a longer distance trip. You've got that luggage rack, you've got a tiny little fairing that definitely adds a bit of wind deflection for you. So it's a bike that kind of does it all. And for me, that's actually a really good thing. I think Harley have done a great job of putting together a bike that sort of sits between the sports class and then more the cruiser class, because I think it kind of fits both sides of the spectrum, if that makes sense. It's a bike that really can be that versatile, that could be used for your long weekend trips as well as it can be in the week. And I think it's a great thing to have a bike that can do it all. I think if you're looking at buying a Harley Davidson, you weren't sure whether to go for more of the kind of sportier stripped back bikes or more of the heavier fairing type bikes, I think the Sport Glide is the perfect model, because I think it sits right in the middle. There's loads of aftermarket customization you can do for the Sport Glide as well, to make it kind of to make it your own, which is what Harley Davidsons are known for, very good for. So overall, love the bike. It rides phenomenally well, and it is so comfortable when you're riding it. I hope it's been an interesting review of the Harley Davidson Sport Glide from my opinion. I'd love to know what yours is. If you do own a Harley Davidson or even a Sport Glide, let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.